training at Wildwood. Come out Thursday, September 12th, for a morning training session with Chief John Yar of the Lakewood Fire Department. Chief Yar is the chief of department of the fastest growing and third largest municipality in the state of New Jersey. Come listen to how he is leading his dedicated members of the Lakewood Fire Department as they continually transition their department to meet the town's growing needs. Scan the QR code on the screen or find them on social media and get registered today. The New Jersey Deputy and Battalion Chiefs Association will be hosting their annual fire service seminar on Saturday, October 5th at the New Jersey City University. This year's speakers will include Chief Vincent Dunn, Chief Aaron Heller, Chief Anthony Avillo, among many other fine firematic minds. So scan the QR code on your screen or find them on social media and get your tickets today. Hey, everybody, how are you? Thank you for coming out. Another great run, number 28, with Chief Peter Griese of the Jersey City Fire Department. Battalion Chief Peter Griese was appointed to the Jersey City Fire Department in 1982. He began his 42-year journey as a firefighter working downtown section of the city in Engine Company 1 and 4. He then moved to the Bergen section of the city to Engine Company 20 for 6.5 years before Engine Company's disbanding in 1991, when Peter was assigned to the newly reinstated Rescue Company 1. Promoted to captain in June 92, he spent 1 year with Ladder Company 8, then spent several years with Engine 15. In 1999, he took over as captain of Rescue 1, spending 7+ years before being promoted again to battalion chief in April of 2006. Upon his promotion, he was assigned to the training division, and for just over a year, filling battalion spots for several years, he attained the assignment of the 2nd Battalion, Group D, in 2011, where he remains today. Peter is also a member of the Long Valley Volunteer Fire Company since June of 1993, serving 3 times as chief, and currently holds the rank of assistant chief. Beginning in 1999, he worked 20 years as an instructor at Morris County Fire Academy. Additionally, he has served several private training companies. He spent several years as a hot instructor at Firehouse Expo in Baltimore, as well as being involved for 4 years at the Worcester, Massachusetts Safety and Survival Seminars. Without further interruption, I would like to bring you Chief Peter Griese. Hey,
Evening,
Chief,
Rick.
how are you tonight?
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for the
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it, really. I'm honored. I mean, hell of a career. All right, so tell us where it all began. Where did you grow up? What brought you to the fire service?
Grew up in Jersey City, in a Western Slope section up in the Heights, and lived there till I was 24. When I got on the job, 1982, the only real aspect I had to the fire service was my uncle Lou DeSalvo. He was on for 25 years, and he retired in 1980 before I came on. And I graduated high school, and I was bouncing around. I worked for some brokerage firms in Manhattan. I worked for Smith Barney, and then I found a job in Jersey City, which I wouldn't have to pay the New York taxes, and I could drive there. And one of the guys who worked in the brokerage firm, MS Ween, it was called, this little tiny penny stocks place, and he was a fireman in Jersey City who would do it part-time. He worked there, and he offered me, hey, you interested in taking a fire department job? And I was, it's got to be better than this. So, there's a pension, there's a good schedule, and it's a decent job. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I took Jake's application, filled it out, took the test in 1980, I think, December, and then got hired in 82.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. I won't tell you where I was in 82.
Well, that's a whole other story too.
I was talking about that before with one of the guys I work with. That you've been on the job for 42 years in Jersey City, and he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Think about it. When you love what you do, you don't work at it."
It's preposterous. It really is. It's just, but
And I was like, "But think about that." I'm like, "How many of the guys on the job now were even alive?" Like,
when I was in,
y-
I'm trying to think because it was like one class it kind of changed the whole aspect because I was the rescue captain. It was two young kids, Todd Tarrant and Alex Degnan, who are both the captains now. Great guys where they work in the squad and the rescue. And they were talking. I said, when were you guys born? He said, oh, 1982 or 3. I was like, oh, Jesus. I said, that was like the turn where the guy, I'd been on the job longer than they'd been alive. I was like, holy crap. Yeah. Now it's ridiculous. I'm seeing guys, born in the 2000s. I was like, oh my God. It's like, how'd that happen? It's crazy. It really is. Just, yeah. But again, I love what I'm doing. I really, every day I go to work, I get up, I look forward to it. Not as much as I used to, but now I like to sleep in a little bit, but it's still fun. I still enjoy going to work. That's the whole thing. When it stops being fun, that's when I said that's why I pull the plug. But
yeah.
so far so good.
I mean, to me, that looks like a guy that's having fun doing his job.
Yeah, see, look at that fun that guy's having.
This guy, look at that.
Yeah.
Still got a smile on your face.
Yeah, it's fun. It still is. It's exciting. It's just I don't know what you say. You try to explain it to people outside the fire service.
They don't get it.
They don't get it. Yeah, it's hard because I had people I would talk to and we'd sit and talk, and people hated their jobs, and I'd be like, yeah.
I love it. Yeah, man. I hate Mondays.
Love my job. It's especially if the poor guys he's working 5 days a week, struggling. I used to joke with one of the captains at work. He's been on. There's 3 guys on the job. There was 79 guys in my class in 1982, and I'm the last man standing now. The other guy who just retired is from Chief of Department Stevie Drennan.
Okay.
So I'm the last one, but there's still 3 guys from 1981 class who are still on. 2 guys are battalion chiefs, 1 guy's a captain, 1 guy works in my battalion, Jimmy Farrell. He's been on 43 years, and I went to high school with him, so I knew Jimmy from years ago. And in a busy company, tremendous officer, great crews. It makes the job so much easier. Like the whole battalion, I have 8 companies in the battalion. All the captains, they train all the time. They know they work well together, and that makes the job so much easier. It was like when I was a rescue captain, it was the same deal. Everybody knew what they were doing, so I didn't have to do my job. There's nothing for me to do because they did it. They made me look good. That was the whole point behind it. And all the captains in the battalion do the same thing. So that's the great part, to deal with that. So there's 3 guys more senior than me. I think I'm the oldest guy now on the job. The 3 guys who came on in 81 are all younger, a couple months younger than me. So I'll never get the seniority.
So you just stand in the street with your radio. You're like,
yeah. Oh, it's done. Never mind.
Good job, guys. Thanks. I'm gonna
apparatus positioning's done. First engine's got the line in. Second engine's got the feed. Trucks are opening up. They're doing it, and it's just simple. It's really.
But I mean, that's just like a parent. That's that's what you want.
It makes you proud.
The greatest baseball coach in the world. All he's got to do is show up, fill in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I try to be as tempered as possible. If I see stupid shit, then I don't say something. But basically, everything works pretty good. So,
well, when you've been running the shift for 13 years, I would hope people know what to expect of you.
No, I'm happy. They give all they have. It just so I'm happy what I can get back on it. That's the best part.
Yeah,
they make me look good. That's the whole job. I just stand out. We used to have this great captain, and I would call him on the Talk Around channel, and Danny Mack, he just passed away a couple of years ago. Super captain, great guy. And I would say, Captain Fantastic from Outstanding Chief, because he called me Outstanding Chief. Let's have you outstanding in the street. So Yeah,
So is that where this one comes from?
yeah, there it is. Actually, I sent that picture because Connie Zappella, who was just on last week,
Mhm.
still calls me chief. And I said, Connie, I said, you outranked me. She said,
You're
but you were chief long before I was on. And so I would send her that meme, you know.
I actually, and you know what? It gets difficult because when I came on the job, my first captain, when I worked at another installation with him, he was my chief of training. I still
Right.
called him Cap.
No,
Like
no, it's
he
just,
worked with my dad. Like he was lucky I wasn't calling him uncle. Uh,
no.
uh,
It's-
so you put in for the test, you get the job. What was your first impression when they came knocking on your door and said, "Hey, you want the job?"
well, it
You
was,
know,
I was ecstatic. And it was this great guy, this old deputy chief, Willie Osa, who came, who
okay,
was the sweetest man in the world. And he came to my house and delivered my letter. I was like, this is great. And we were supposed to get put on, I think, March 5th or something. And the mayor at the time, convicted felon, and he held the list up. He stopped the hiring process literally days before we were supposed to get sworn in. So we went from March until July, going to court, having meetings with all the guys on the list, collecting money, getting a lawyer to have to go and sue the city to actually hire us. And finally, it came through, and we got hired. And then just getting into the firehouse, it was, if you've never been, in the fire service and you live in a firehouse like me, right off the street, no idea. Go to I think 6 weeks of training we did in house. No live fire training then because we had one old 3-story tower down on the Hackensack River where they built right outside Roosevelt Stadium, which is gone now. It's a big housing development
okay,
in Society Hill. And we went there for a couple of weeks, and the most we did with SCBAs were these like caustic smoke bombs they would throw in, and we did SCBA drills. But no live fire. We had nothing. There was no facilities to do it.
yeah,
So we went in, and it was like 2 weeks or something before I actually went to a fire. And the first night I spent in the firehouse was in this place they call the Big House, and
okay,
it was built in this like 1965. 3 companies, 2 engines in a truck. The deputy chief was riding out of there at the time, and I'm up, come in for a night tour. So get in, 5 o'clock. We find out we got to run maybe an hour into the thing from the second floor to the apparatus floor. It's got to be 30 something feet. The pole is like the spring loaded thing. It's about 6 inches in diameter. So you grab the pole and the doors open up, and then it's just this drop into an abyss because you're going down this pole. And the first run, I went down the pole. I got like 2 blisters on each hand because I was just holding on this freaking thing because it went down so far, so fast. I was like, holy crap. So I took the stairs the rest of the calls that night. But probably 2 weeks later, maybe, they bounced me out and they sent me up to the far north end of the city, single engine 14. I walked in, and it was, slow company. And I walked in, and I thought it was like my grandparents' family reunion. These guys, I'm 22 years old. These guys are so freaking old. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. And that was my first fight with these guys, with like a Saturday morning or something. And it toned out, and it was a double garage, big garage, with a bunch of Mr. Softy trucks in it.
what
Mr. Softy, the trucks, like the ice cream trucks.
in the firehouse?
No, in this house that before the fire was.
Oh, okay, okay,
Double garage. So go in, and this old lieutenant. I never saw him, for the whole time. So I'm just in there, like looking around and just shooting the water, where I could see orange and stuff. Until other guys finally came in. It was like, is this how it is? This is like, it was bizarre. But it got better. Went to some busy companies, and I learned a lot from some great officers. That was the key behind the whole thing. It just, the more you did it, the better you got at it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like anything. Now, who were some of the guys you were working with at the time?
Let me see. First company I went to, we had a couple guys, older guys, and there was one guy, Bob Schulte, came on like in the 60s or something. And when he was downtown, when downtown was ripping,
Yeah.
60s, mid 60s, 70s, there was blocks and blocks of these 4 and 5 story homes with stores on the first floor, and burnt down pretty much everything on Grove Street, everything on Henderson Street, everything down towards the where Liberty State Park is now across the canal. They had a ton of fire duty, and so he saw a lot of stuff. He was a great guy to like latch onto. And then the other 2 guys came on the year before me, and so we had 3 young guys and Bob. Yeah, it was wild.
3 young guys and Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, but then I bounced around and went to a couple different places. I went to the house I started the first night, the big house. I went back to Engine 4, which was great. I sat down one night because Engine 1 didn't do a lot. It was everything across the street where they built the Newport Mall now.
Okay.
Everything was burnt down. There was not a lot of work happening down there.
It's all shells.
So I went and they had these giant Rolodexes of the box alarms. So I sat in the watch room one night. I'm just scrolling through the run cards, first alarm to the 4th alarm, seeing what companies went on every boxes. And I found Engine 4. There was like 3 boxes. They didn't go on in the city. So they went everywhere in the city. They relocated to Union City. So I went there. That was great, but I hated the house. It was this big old concrete box, and it was loud. And I lasted a year there, but good stuff. We had a good crew. Met Rick Eggers, who ended up being the chief of department, and later on, super nice gentleman. Great guy, nice officer. Took you under your wing. Did the right thing. It was nice to have something like that, which I hadn't seen really previous to that. And then after the 1 year and 4 engine, I went to 20 engine. I did the same thing, going back to the Rolodex and finding. And 20 engine did even more. They went less. They didn't relocate, so that was even better. They went to pretty much every box in the city except for like 3 or 4 of them, and that was a great place. It was there with 5 truck and Engine 20. Really, really busy house. Kind of center of the city. They went both directions. They went to the Greenville section, which had a lot of work still. Mm-hmm. And went to the other way, and it was great. I loved working there. That was a fun house. And then they closed it. Yeah, it was Engine 20, with the crappy 660 helmets. And that's Butch Carter. He was the captain for the last year before they closed Engine 20. Again, another godsend to have him. He was the first guy who would. I remember, you're lining in, and he'd be there with his hand on your shoulder, and just. I owe so much to that man. Really, he was the best. I talk to him probably twice a week. He lives in Arizona now. Great guy.
Yeah, he was great when I got the show started. He was very very passionate about it, and
he was my mentor. There's nobody else that could really gave me what I got. I mean, between promotions and everything else, he's the best.
Absolutely. I mean, and humbling. I mean,
oh yeah,
he's just very, very great guy. I mean, I can't say enough good things about him. And man.
I dispute that. He's wonderful.
Ray Nickerson says, Pete, we had the oil fire pit training behind the training school.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, they did have a metal pit with they poured diesel fuel in it, and you got to put out a fire, but you did go. Yeah. Hopefully nobody.
I'm sure OSHA loved that.
EPA
loved that. I'm sure.
Yeah, it was just whatever they wanted. Yes. Thank you, Ray. Yeah. There he goes back. He's an old 20 engine guy too. There he is.
So now, what's that? Truck 5 with?
That was truck 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Till the truck, it was about this much room between the rigs, and then the driver's side of engine 20.
It looks like ladder 5's right up against the wall.
It was a radiator there, and then there was a watch desk and a pole. So the pole came down. If you came down the pole, you can see it right to the right of the picture. There's a little reflection of it.
Yeah.
And if you came down the pole the wrong way, you would land on the mirror. You had to be really careful how you swung around the pole. Yeah, that was tight. That was, and it was like black. It was like backing into a cave. you saw nothing, and you had to stay really tight to the wall, and you knew the watch desk was there, the pole, and the radiator. So you just hoped you wouldn't smack it on the way in.
So now when Engine 20 got disbanded, did all of you guys just get moved right over to the
They
rescue, or
shifted
how did that
everybody
work?
out. The word was coming down for a while, so they started taking resumes to start
Okay.
the rescue. They weren't sure what companies are going to close, so in '91 they closed Engine 1, Ladder 1, or Truck 1 at the time, downtown, and then they closed Engine 20 and Truck 5, the same house. They were going to close the whole house. There was a plan in the works a couple of weeks before. They were going to close Engine 22 with 4 truck, and they were closed for a short period of time. And they're going to keep 20 engine and rescue, but then they kicked 20 and 5 out of the house, and they put the rescue in the house on Communipore Avenue.
Okay.
And Ray was one of the guys who got ousted, and then a lot of those guys from 20 engine went to 22 on Ocean Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little busy house.
Yeah. And then here you guys are with your high-tech rescue truck.
That was the first rescue when they started the company. Did not have a rig yet. They started the company in April, and we didn't get the E1 until July of '91. And that was Gumby was in training, so he didn't cut it. He got a leak, and we had to let him go. But that was it. We had that car, the big old Suburban, and we had a Chevy work van with jaws and whatever equipment we could throw in there. So that was the original Group D, with Butch Cobb as the captain, and next to him, Lenny Rybicki, Mike Conlon, Gumby, of course, myself, and Tommy Ebert. I learned more from Tommy Ebert and Lenny Rybicki about cutting roofs. I'd been on engines my whole career prior to that, and learned more about roof work from those two guys. They used to call him Tommy the Hook and Lenny the Hook and Tommy the Saw.
All right. So now, how are they? And Chief Cobb touched on it a little bit, but like, how were they using you guys back then? Like, what kind of training were they giving you guys?
We started out on our own. We got the guys came in. I remember we had guys came in, and we did extrication with them for a couple of days, and then all of us went to rope school. All of us went to collapse school. So all of the things we're supposed to cover, we were kind of doing it from scratch. We were just starting out and getting the training as we could. It was interesting times.
Now, did they have, prior to the rescue, did they have any specialized, now they would call them a sock truck company or a squad?
They used to have, there was rescues from the 60s. They had 2 at one point. When there was a lot of fire duty, they had Rescue 1 and 2. Rescue 1 was up in the north end of the city. Rescue 2 was down in Engine 8's quarters on Iggy Avenue. And they disbanded them in 1973. Okay. So we went without just fiscal stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really nothing. We had a couple sets of jaws on a couple of the trucks, Amcus tools, and there was only a couple of the trucks had them. For extrications, but that was really very little specialized anything. Yeah, and it was a big step. We had 4. They made the 4 captains, and they pretty much ran the show. They made everything. They designed the truck with Billy Peters, who was the super of the apparatus. He worked for fire engineering for years and years, and that was the first one, the E1 91 E1.
Okay. So now what? So I listened to the Getting Salty podcast. Shout out to those guys. But they talk about how Lou Rafrano and Kevin Kubler, they were plank holders in Squad 288 in '98 when FDNY brought in the squad concept.
Right.
So was there any time where you guys, like, you were in the rescue company but you weren't doing rescue stuff yet? You were responding as maybe like another unit, or like before you went on
every working fire? And first couple of years when they put us in, we were going on boxes, a school box at 3 o'clock in the morning because there's nobody in the school. A full box with the rescue. All obviously we were doing 4,500 runs a couple of years.
Oh wow!
It was nuts. It was really amazing. 20 something runs a day. But the best part was just going every fire. That was there's a fire anywhere in the city, we're going. That was the best part of the whole thing.
I'll sign up for that all day.
Oh yeah, it was great. And then all the other training came. We had some guys who were super duper with the ropes. A bunch of guys worked for this guy. He was a Port Authority cop who had a rope company. I can't remember what the company was called, but a couple of guys from the rescue worked for him. So they were a great resource to get started, to get the rope. That was my Armageddon ropes. I mean, I don't know if it's a left brain, right thing or something, but holy crap, that was the hardest part of any of the stuff. The technical rescue stuff was the rope stuff. It was just beyond. Holy crap. Thank God I had a guy, Michael Lessie, who worked with us, who was super knowledgeable with the ropes and things. And I would just go with Mike. I remember one time he loved doing hauling systems and lowering systems, and we had do stuff all over the place. We went to one time, the light rail had a big shop in Jersey City, and we got a report of a guy on top of the light rail train who was unconscious. So we go down there, and there's a whole bunch of trains in there, and this big metal stairway. You go up to the top, and it takes you right to the top of the train. So everything's down. There's no electrical. Power's off. We get that guy at a medical emergency. So we're taking care of him. EMS is there. We're helping package the guy. So Mike's there looking around, saying, "Oh, there's a beam here. We could do this. Okay, we take this. We'll high up here, and we could maybe we'll do a lowering system down to here." And I said, "Mike, why don't we put him in the freaking basket and carry him down the stairs?" How can we do that too? But
yeah, we can do. I mean, if you want
to, in my comfort zone, yeah.
If you want to just ruin the game,
yeah, exactly. He had this whole plan in his head, and I just kiboshed it. So, yep. So it came along. I mean, it's a bunch of guys, and they went on. Vic Petroselli was the captain on B Group. He came on as one of the original rescue captains in 1991, and stayed there until he retired 2 years ago.
Oh wow!
He was there for 30-something years as a rescue captain.
Wow.
A wealth of information for that guy. He knew so much stuff. He was on the task force, everything. He knew so much. There's another guy came on with me and just retired. So he was another nice, super nice guy.
Year.
Yeah.
Wow. 30 in the rescue.
Yep. That was crazy.
So Fred Manzo made a comment. Chief is right. Engine 20, truck 5 was on every box in the city.
Manzo, another F guy. Yep. Yeah. These are all old. Those guys are all older than me now. That's the crazy part.
All right. Hey.
All great guys though.
So how long do you guys have the E1 before you got this guy?
2002, I think.
Okay.
The E1, it lacked power. That was one of the issues. I mean, with the amount of crap we threw on that thing, and it was heavy, and the engine just couldn't keep up with it. But we got this E1, and it was pretty good. It was a nice truck.
So now, how much say did you guys really like on the ground, or was it the 4 captains designed the rig, or did they give you guys?
Billy Peters was still involved, and he was one of the guys. They did up to the Vic Petroselli and another guy, Jimmy Baston, had gone out to do the planning and the pre-build stuff out in Pierce. And Billy Peters always involved, heavy duty. Wrote a book on apparatus specking and stuff. And they went out and did all that. And then I remember myself and another Captain Dennis Harris went out for the final inspection, which again was easy as could be because Billy Peters came out with us, and we're looking and said, "That's nice," and "Oh yeah, this drawers are cool." And then Billy Peters is under there on a creeper, looking at things with a flashlight and stuff. And, how's it look, Chief? Good. Okay, good. This looks good up here too. We had no idea what we were doing. We just went for the ride. It was great. But no, it was a nice rig. They did a great job. Vic, I know, had a lot of input on stuff that we found out from the E1, what didn't work and what we liked. So we did a lot of things that were different just to try to fit the equipment on and make it more user-friendly.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll throw some of these pictures up from when you were a fireman in Rescue 1.
Yeah, it's the same crew again. That's a later crew. That's about when I was captain, and we came back. And we were doing training down in Bayonne someplace for some kind of disaster drill.
Okay. And then I got this one. Looks like
That's
you're
my
teaching.
son. I was doing a presentation at his nursery school.
Okay.
He's much older now.
I don't see a rescue truck in that picture.
No, it was. Yeah, it probably has a commercial cab too on the top. What it looks like. So
Yeah. All right. So actually, let's back up. You know, we didn't even talk about you. You know, prepping and taking the test to become a captain. You know, what really made you? You know, looked at you. It sounds like you were in a sweet spot. You were. You know.
well, the thing was, I took the test.
Let's go. What do we got?
Let's see. An accident, entrapment. So,
Ooh, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah,
I'll be
sorry,
there in
guys.
about an hour and 15.
I have to miss that one. And I think I took the test in '87. Actually, it was, I did, because we just bought our first house down in East Brunswick, and the day after we moved in, I had to take the test up in East Orange or something.
Okay.
And took the test, and it took a while to get. They hadn't made captains in that period since 1979. Everything was held up in the courts, so we went for years with.
Now, is that also in that period where they were getting rid of the lieutenant's positions?
Right, they changed the lieutenants over in the mid '80s, lieutenant rank, and then they determined, going to civil service, that the lieutenant and the captain were doing basically the same job. So what they kind of agreed to was you could have one captain for two apparatus, and it stayed for years. And you would have a double house with two captains assigned. But if one captain was off, no big deal. He'll cover the engine and the truck. We would go out of town and talk about that. You're like, what? How do you do that? And they made it work. That was the thing. Until finally, we probably 2000s or something, we finally got it changed. We put an officer on every rig. But it took a while. And they fade in '89, when the list came out, they made 50 captains, like boom, like that. And then a couple months later, they wanted to make another 50 more. And I was in that group. And same mayor who had the issues in the beginning, we got sworn in. And what happened was the list went from 50 to like 70 something for guys, cashing in their political patron. Hey, who's your bishop? Let me go with this. So the list, from a couple hours, it went from 50 to like 70 something. I said, this ain't going to happen now. And Mick was not going to go for this. And he didn't. He got sworn in. I said, this is a waste of time. We got sworn in and then rolled back the same night. And so I'm back to 20 engine that night after, putting my dress uniform away. And it wasn't until 92 that they made two classes. They made a class in March, another class in June.
Okay.
I got made in June. So it was a while. It was just, crazy politics stuff. They needed the captains right away, but, the mayor was disappointed in how it happened. So
I can't believe that in North Jersey, politics fucked something up.
In Hudson County,
I can't believe
surprised
it.
me too. I couldn't believe,
I bet there was a lot of his constituents were headstones.
Yeah, well, this guy had a long history of
North Jersey.
Had could not care less about the fire department. He threatened to take the beds out of the firehouse. He had some issues.
Oh, well, back then you guys were working 10s and 14s. I mean,
we needed them. Yeah. No, but they say by then, no. By
what year did you guys go to?
87, we went to 24s.
Really?
Yeah.
It was that early?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. All right. So you're the captain. Your first assignment. Where'd you go?
Bounced around for like a year, 2 years, just filling spots. But that was, I'm in a rescue, loving this thing. And then I go and they ship me out to, the slowest companies in the city with like Engine 1 or Ladder 2 downtown. Engine 1 was gone, of course, but Ladder 2. and it was slow. There's nothing down there. There was no development, and now that they're killing it down there with the alarms, because of all the development, all those companies that were slow in the 80s and 90s. Now with the influx of, I think I was talking to one of the chiefs yesterday. I think we're up to almost 250 high rises in Jersey City now.
Wow.
Most of them are concentrated downtown.
Wow.
And those companies, working the automatic alarms and the stuff all day long. It's
I can imagine elevator alarms and that's wild. I was actually reading something the other day. It was an article, and it was essentially evaluating the fire department's response to a call in a high-rise building.
Right.
Like, how long is it really taking you? Yeah, you're on scene in 5 minutes, but now you gotta get up to the 17th, the 30th, whatever floor. How long is it really taking you to get from the time of dispatch to wherever that
These
emergency
companies
is?
in the lobby, and by the
Wow.
time a couple of them go up to start doing some recon, and then if you do have a fire, the amount of equipment and just trying to get everything up to 2 floors below, it's an incredible amount of time. It really is. I give those guys a lot of credit, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
We had Mike Turpak, when he was the deputy. He did a whole thing, pretty much set the whole high-rise SOPs for Jersey City up.
Mm-hmm.
Again, another super top-notch, smart guy. Worked with him for a couple of years when I got promoted early. I was a safety officer on his shift, and then one of the chiefs retired, and he gave me a spot in the 3rd Battalion for a year.
Okay.
So it was another guy it was wonderful to work for him, because he knew his shit. He knew what he was doing, and it just rolled down to us. He expected what to do, and we did it for him, because he's that good of a guy.
Were you working for the night he had the construction, the fire up?
No, I got called in for overtime that night, and I couldn't do it.
This thing.
And I missed it. Damn it. Yeah.
Spoken like a true fireman.
Oh, no. That didn't look like fun at all.
No. All right, so you're captain bouncing around. How were you lucky enough to get back to Rescue 1?
It took, promoted in 92, it took me 7 years to get there. So I bounced around, went to Ladder 8 for a year, and then went to Engine 15, which is right by Journal Square, which is half-ass busy house, went a lot of places. It was a good house. It was a wacky crew. I mean, it was like working with the Three Stooges. It was, buckets of water and water balloons and fireworks, and but they put the fires out, and that's all that mattered. And we had fun doing it. So,
you said Ladder 8 or Engine 8?
Huh?
Ladder 8 or Engine?
Ladder 8.
My brother's on the job in Monroe. Chief Gazarowski.
That's it. He was the 2nd Battalion. Yeah. He was. I have his spot. He had probably the chief right before, or maybe another guys, but maybe 2 before I got the spot. Okay. He retired and went to Monroe. Yeah.
He my brother worked with him for a few years. Now he's living the retired life.
Yeah. He retired and did that. Yeah, that's
the double retire.
That's something. Another
glorious.
Good guy. Knowledgeable.
Very
knowledgeable chief. Don't mind working for.
Yeah. All right, so you're in row. What was that transition like? Now you were at Rescue 1 as a fireman. Now you came back as an officer. What was that? How was that? The change.
It's like graduating grammar school and being an 8th grader, and starting high school and you're a freshman, and nobody cares. You just you're the new guy. Nobody gives a crap. So, and it was interesting, but the good part was you got to bounce around a little bit. So you saw a bunch of different houses, and you saw, man, I would really like to work with these guys. And then you go to other houses, man, I never want to see these clowns again. So it was very interesting transition of trying to get back in it. I just.
Now, was that your eventual goal, getting back to Rescue 1?
that was a couple of years. Then I would come back periodically as the alternate captain. So when Butch Cobb was off, I would take the spot and fill it in. And they had a great thing of when I was in a slow company and they'd have a fire. They come back and I get a call. I was, hey, we found a hand light on the second floor. Is that yours? No, it's not. I wasn't there. Goodbye. Yeah. So that happened for a couple of years. I guess they loved me. I don't know. Yeah, but then finally getting back. So I did a few years of working at 15 engine, and then they had this brilliant idea. They had the hazmat companies downtown, and what they did for pretty much since the inception of the hazmat was take the least senior captain, send them to hazmat school, and send them down there. And then they had this brilliant idea. Hey, why don't we take the satellite companies who would do a decon and send all those captains to hazmat school? So like, okay, so there's 20 guys in hazmat school in Middlesex County who didn't want to be there. And it was ugly.
But oh, come on, you're on overtime.
No, it was just going. You went for the 40 hours for 2 weeks of training and hazmat. And nobody wanted to be there, so nobody was cared. And I remember one of the state troopers who were running the things.
Said, and I'm sure everybody was calling you every time there was a fire.
How many guys want to be here? Nobody raised their hand. Just how many guys don't want to be here? Everybody in the class raised their hand. Okay, so I see how this is going to go. So it wasn't fun. And then one year I went down. I was working at 15 and never failed. Weekends, I'd come in and say, "Oh, you got to go to hazmat." So the one year I went. We worked 70-something tours a year, 80-something. And one year I went to hazmat, 37 tours I did down there. So, and then missing, 15 engine would go to fires and I'd miss them, being down there. So it was just driving me out of my mind. So finally, that was the best part was I got a 15 engine. I went to rescue. I don't have to go to hazmat anymore. So
nice. So now
they've revamped everything. Hazmat's not a bad place to be. They do.
I was going to say hazmat didn't go to fires. They did.
They were downtown. They were companies that there was nothing really left to burn. So yeah, so now they revamped everything. They moved it to another house up in the north end of the city, and people want to be there. They like it. We learned a lot of military guys really liked it. They did all the WMD stuff in the military. Yeah, and had real interest in it. So we got a bunch of good military guys who want to be there. It's great.
Hey, if you want to be there, it's the best.
No, it's the best thing. They're happy doing their thing. That's fine. That's the best part of the job.
All right.
Yeah.
So now you're
the rescue again. That was fun, and then did that for 7 years. Went back and you talk to guys. It's the worst thing you could ever do is go back to the same guys you worked with, and that's exactly what I did. So,
I was going to ask, were any of the guys still there?
3 of the guys were still there. So, we were always on good terms. I mean, they were friends at that point. Yeah. So it wasn't.
They were still calling you and messing with you whenever you missed a fire.
Oh, yeah. And that's when I got them. I'm saying that was part of the deal. They've been there, since '91, and they were seasoned. They knew what they were doing. So it was great having them because I didn't have to tell them what to do. It was just done. Yeah. We had a funny thing. We talked to. We were kind of like the black sheep or shift. So they were working. I was off one time, and they had Vic Petroselli working with them one time, and they had a fire. And he said, "Wow," he says, "you guys did a good job." And the one guy, Tommy Ebert, said, "He says we may not be pretty, but we do it. So that's all right now. We got the job done. So
because it's my job.
Yep, that's all that matters.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, you're in a sweet spot. You're at this point, you're captain. You're the assigned captain in Rescue 1, going on every fire in the city.
Yep. And then
you screwed up and took a test again.
That's another stupid test. Yeah. And I was that night. Again, Jersey City has a long history of you never know when you're going to get promoted, if you're going to get promoted, because it just happens. The list is getting close to expiring, and all of a sudden I get a call. Hey, you're gonna get promoted tomorrow. I was like, oh, okay. And that night we got promoted, and we were going down to Cape May to do a class with Butch down there. They doing large area
Right.
research or something. So we went to City Hall, got sworn in, went out to dinner with Butch and Rick Eggers, who was the chief of the department at the time. And then we jumped in the car. We drove down to Cape May and did 3 days of hands-on training. And I was literally, in the verge of tears, thinking, that's it, I'm done. And I was off the line. I went to training, so no shift training 5 days a week. And that was a transition. That was something. So I sat in the office, doing paperwork and listened to fires. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry I missed. But and then the one deputy who I worked with for several years, a couple chief officers who really impacted me. That was the thing. So this guy, Tom Carney, who was our deputy for a while on our shift, super nice guy, funny, worked with you, anything you needed, always happy, happy with the work the rescue did. We go to fire, he cut you loose quick, once we're done. And he called me in and says, look, he says, it's going to take a while. He said, it's a transition. And it is. I mean, everything, from being a firefighter, which we did whatever we wanted. We ran around. We never freelanced, of course, but we just did what we wanted. And then when I got captain, then I was like, oh, okay, now I have responsibility for these fellows now. And so then it kind of changed my mindset. And then I become a battalion. And when I finally get out of training school, I'm like, okay, now I have a lot more responsibility, for 6 or 8 companies on a job. And again, a whole different mindset shift to try to, understand this and develop it. And Tom called me up. He says, look, it's going to take you a while to develop your skills. He says, you'll learn. He says, trust me. He says, you'll like this job. I said, okay. And finally, about a year or so later, I was out in the, doing fill-ins, and I met him and I said, you're right. He said, what's that? I said, I'm starting to like the job. He says, I told you. Yeah. He was another super knowledgeable guy. It was 2 brothers, him and his brother Tim, and both of them were deputy chiefs. Very different personalities. Tom was kind of fun-loving, jovial. Tim was straight arrow, strict guy, but learned a lot from him. He was, if you were a load, you didn't want to work for Tim Carney, because he would come after you. He would put his foot on your ass and say, look, he said, you got to go. He'd trip you. My first fire as a battalion, I was in training. I already had my incident safety officer. So they had putting a couple guys through classes. So they said, okay, go fill in these spots today while these guys are taking the classes. Okay, cool. So I go out. We get a good fire up in the Heights. I'm downtown. So I go up as the working fire chief. So I show up with a borrowed helmet from a guy from headquarters. And I get to Timmy Carney's the deputy. So I get my stuff on, my bright white helmet on. I walk up to Tim and I said, and the fire's blowing out these 3 windows in the front of the building, the 2nd floor. I said, Chief, what do you need? He says, I need you to go in there and find out why they can't put this fucking fire out. I said, the best advice, simple to the point, but it was great. That was the best advice you ever heard. It was perfectly delivered. It was great.
Outstanding.
And we did. So, but again, good guy. As long as you worked, no issues whatsoever. If you were a lump, he was going to come after you. But his brother was, very different, but loved working for both of them. Another guy, John Holinka, who was the 4th Battalion Chief, where 20 engine, 15 engine rescue all were in the 4th Battalion. And he was the most likable, just this quiet guy. I called him he was like a Bob Newhart of battalion chiefs, the button-down battalion chief. Very few words, very soft-spoken. He would sit in his office and he would read fire books, and he'd listen to classical music. It was like this whole thing. And he was an avid bird watcher. And they said when he worked in 22 engine and 4 truck, he would go down to Liberty State Park with the guys, and they'd park the rigs, and he'd go out bird watching and stuff. But he would sound, and I learned so much from him, Tom Carney, and a couple of those, Timmy Carney, listening to these guys at fires. Because John Lincoln would have a garbage can or a row of 3-story frames, and he would sound exactly the same. And I learned so much from that because I worked for guys who were screamers, and it changes the whole concept of what you're doing. Everybody,
100%.
starts going nuts. And so I learned some of that, and I've had guys, I take it as a compliment now. They were like, hey, you have to, bring it up a little bit. I was like, I can't. So I'm so much in that.
This is my style. Like, this is what I do.
No, that's it. So now I got, I don't care how big it is. I'm trying to keep it as monotone as possible. Just try to get the facts out and try to keep it that way. Just, what they say is try to keep the pot on the lid on the shit pot. So that fire right there is a fire directly across from my house when I was the chief for the 3rd time.
I have to say, you're looking at something over here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the engine pulling up the street.
And there's a lot of something going on over there.
Well, there's nothing there because there was no lines. Because this is one of my neighbors who I'm sitting at home. I just got into bed. It's like 10:30 at night. And I'm laying in bed with my wife, and I hear this boom. And we left. What was that? It sounded like an explosion. I don't know. And then a minute later, the pager goes off. And I'm at 19, and this was, I think, 14.
Okay.
It's a reported fire. So my wife comes downstairs. She looks at the side door. She says, "Oh, I see a glow." So, okay, I'm putting my shoes on. She says, "Oh, I see fire." I was like, "Oh, great." So I literally pull out and go 2 houses down and pull in the driveway. So I'm sitting there with all my neighbors watching me, and I put my gear on, so I look really professional. But I'm waiting for the rigs, So it was about 3, whatever the lag time is. The pager goes off. Guys get up, get to the firehouse, get the rig. Luckily, the rigs, my firehouse is about a quarter mile from my house. But that was one of my neighbors taking that shot across the street.
That's
but
I mean, the reason I bring this up, you look calm, collected, just happy to see a fire truck coming down the street.
Oh, thank God. And my one neighbor who he passed away last year, he said, "I remember that night so much." And he said the guy pulled the rig up, and he pulled it right in front of the driveway. I was like, "Pull it up, pull it up, pull it up." And he said, "All I heard was, pull the fucking rig up." And he remembers that to this day because they're right in front of the driveway. I wanted them up. I said, if I needed to get a ladder in there, because it was this big old Queen Anne house, and this garage was probably 15 feet away from it. And you could see, if you look at the corner of the building, it was just starting to off gas up on the along the side and the eaves. And I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "It's bad enough I'm losing a 100-year-old garage. I don't want to lose a 100-year-old house." So, and we saved the house
in front of a guy I got to look at every day.
Yeah, I know. That's it.
He knows where I live.
Exactly. My neighbors were thankful. So, yeah, that was a weird fire. That was strange.
All right. But yeah, like I said, that picture, you look more happy to see the fire truck than anything.
I was because there's a hydrant maybe 2 doors down from that house and it's like,
oh, that's a beautiful thing.
Come in, and I'm waiting for the second due engine to take the hydrant and give the feed to the attack engine. But that was not fun.
So now, you were never a volunteer, you were a career firefighter and officer before you joined the volunteer fire department.
Yeah. I was living in East Brunswick for a couple of years. We bought our first house in East Brunswick. And I joined down there in East Brunswick. Was the Old Bridge Volunteer Fire Department.
Okay, District 1.
Houses, and it was one fairly close to the house. So I went down there and I joined for maybe 6 months or so. And then we had 2 kids in a small 3-bedroom house with no basement, and my living room and dining room was like Little Tyke's world. Yeah. So we decided we have to start looking for a house. So we ended up, I was a member for maybe 6 months, and then we moved up to Long Valley, and I had to leave. And then I moved here, and probably 4 or 5 months of getting the house in order and, getting floors put in, refinished, painting everything. And then I finally went down to the firehouse one night and guys were hanging out. So I was like, can I get an application? They're like, yeah, sure. So it took me a while. I had to sit on a table and, finally filled it out and got June of 93. I came into Valley.
They give you so you ever, you know anything about the fire service?
Well, when I told the one chief, he said, "You're a paid guy?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "What do you want to come here for?" I said, "I live a quarter mile away." I said, "I've been doing it for 10 years or something now. I'm interested."
I only get to work 2 days a week.
Yeah, and that was it. I'm around this guy. And he said, "Well, I thought the paid guys don't like volunteers." I said, "Well, I didn't really have that preconceived notion, but I said, I have no issue with you guys." I said,
I didn't read that in my union bylaws.
I just want to help. That's all I want to do. Why do you want to chase me away?
I didn't read that memo in my union bylaws.
No, I didn't get that. So 31 years later, it worked out.
Yeah, I'd say so. But what I was going to ask you is, how was that transition for you, especially being not only a paid firefighter, but being a paid officer, and now going to that, like, how did you make that? Because I mean, I've been a volunteer since I was 14 years old and started as an explorer, and still there's times where I'm like, wait a second, how is this the same? How is this the same job?
Now, I came in, I did have a preconceived notion that I wasn't going to try to change the world. They were doing things for years and it worked out okay. So when I came in, I would just kind of drop hints. Hey, let's try this. They still had 1.5 inch hose. I said, maybe we should get 1 3/4 hose. Okay. So they bought that, and then I bought a couple smoothbore nozzles. So I just tried to bring in some concepts. I wasn't heavy-handed whatsoever. I tried to be as reasonable as possible, trying to listen to their concerns. I didn't want to step on toes. Again, I'm a new guy, so I didn't want to.
That's where I'm going wrong all these years.
Right. I just didn't want to make it.
Got it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. So
that's what I'm doing wrong. That's what I'm doing wrong.
Be nice sometimes, but I just tried. I like the guys. The guys are good. They were doing the best they could, and that's all I wanted. That's all I asked for. They do very good with what we have, and if I could help them out at all, bring some new technology into the job, it was great. So I'm very happy.
All right. So now, I gotta ask, your chief of, how are you guys doing with a man? Everybody's got the same.
Oh no, same issues everywhere else.
Same manning issues, and
I said before, we have a bunch of guys who are in their 70s, who show up during the day, and that's who's driving the rigs. And I'm 64. I was saying I could bring the average age at 64 down to 75 sometimes, and it's not just here. There's 3 companies in Washington Township, Morris County, the original Washington Township of the remaining 5, I believe. And we have the 3 companies, and we work pretty well together. But you get something 10 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, hopefully you can
get sketchy.
Hopefully you could staff 2 or 3 rigs, maybe 1 from each company, and then you're going to depend on mutual aid. It's no different. We're not blessed by. We've been very lucky the last couple of years. Got a couple of young kids, a couple of young adult guys with kids who live in town, which is very nice. They go to fire school in their 30s and 40s and become members. So it's nice to see some young blood. Okay, but there's definitely. You read the articles, and it's the same thing everywhere.
Everywhere.
I don't know.
Everywhere.
It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of requirements now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of mandated stuff, and it's hard to keep people who have limited amount of time anyway in their life, especially with kids. You start doing school, and you have sports, and it's a lot of stuff going on. Just take 2 nights out for meetings and drills, and it's hard. But I thank God for the guys who are doing it. We have
absolutely
in the 3 companies we have a core group of guys who you know are going to be there every time, which is really nice. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so where were we? You're bouncing around as a battalion chief.
right. And then I got a
You
got my first bid spot. I was the safety officer,
okay.
which was okay. I mean, at least it was a shift spot, and that was on Group B with Mike Turpak, and that's where
Okay.
he gave me the leeway if a battalion was off that day. He was okay. Go fill the 3rd Battalion, go fill the 4th Battalion, whatever it was, which was nice. And then when one guy retired, he says, go to the 3rd Battalion for the rest of the year. Okay, cool.
All right.
So I had my own spot. It was, very comfortable. And then the 2nd Battalion spot came up. So that's where I wanted to be, the 4th or the 2nd. Yeah, there it is.
Now I got to say, it looks like from some of your pictures, it looks like you have a different helmet or front piece. Are you burning through front pieces?
I went through a couple. I had a couple Conway ones. Yeah, that was my original one. When I first got promoted, the guys at the rescue and this guy, Ira Rubin, who was a mega buff in Jersey City.
Dispatcher. Ira's a great guy.
Super, anything I want to know about Jersey City Fire Department, ask Ira.
He knew.
And he would have it. He had collections of books from the volunteer ages, from the commissioner's records that he went to the library, had them copied and bound. He had volumes of these minutes from the commissioners prior to the paid department in 1871. And he went out and he was dealing with, he started doing badges after a while with Brackington and Smith and Warren.
Okay.
And then he was working with Paul Conway. He started selling fronts, and Conway came out with a couple different helmets. So when I got promoted, he went out and got the Conway, I think it's Lion now, the American Heritage, which is a leather wrapped plastic helmet, very heavy.
Very heavy. I had
one.
It's a
durable helmet. I mean, you can't break the thing. But that was that helmet he had. I had it for 10 years.
And that looks like it's like a 7 here. This one.
That's the watch.
It looks like it's like a 64 comb or something like that.
That's the watch. That's a Phoenix TL2 Miller edition.
Okay.
And that's a Bob Stella front piece.
Okay. I like it.
Fashion. Yeah, it was nice.
I like it. I am a buff.
Yeah. I like I had a 5A. I still have my old 5A from 1982, which I mentioned my uncle Louis DeSalvo. When I got on a job, he says, when you get sworn in, he says, I'll buy you the helmet. So it was the Carnes helmet with this guy from Jersey City. Sold stuff. He sold pants, boots, coats, and he had this great contraption. I saw it once on a video from Carnes. It was this big wooden thing that you put on your head and it was all spring-loaded. And then on top of it had a bunch of pins. And you would take a piece of paper and you'd push the paper onto it, and it would make holes in the paper. And that was to fit your head. And that was the number, and it's actually stuck inside the helmet. They would glue it in there, and it had a number that went to that helmet. So if you ever had to replace your helmet, they would just go to the numbers and see what the dimensions of your helmet were. And so he said he'd buy it $114 for a custom-made helmet in 1980.
I won't say what company, but I just got a email today that they're on sale. You can save up to $500.
Right, exactly.
On a leather, on a Carnes New York, on a Carnes leather.
Right.
I opened up the email. I'm like, oh wow, saving $500. I might buy a couple.
15, but
it was still $1,500. Right. I was like, Jesus.
No, it's crazy.
Insane.
Yeah. And I like the Phoenix one. I'd seen it a few times. I like the look of it. I was out at the Fire Expo in Harrisburg one year, and I had my credit card in my pocket and walking around. I see I just picked a fire store or something. And I said, hey, you have any of the a white TL2 Miller? Said, yeah, hold on. So he pulls it out. It's very light. It's kind of pliable, very comfortable.
They are very light.
Okay, I'll take it. And it was like $600.
Okay.
And I was with a couple guys from the academy, and I said, I will probably be getting a text in about 10 minutes from my wife.
What the hell did you do?
What did you just buy for $600? Because she has the thing of the alert on her phone. I I bought a new helmet. Why do you need that? I didn't need it, but I wanted it. So
I didn't need it. I wanted it.
that was it. So, and then
I love it.
yeah, it was great. I like it. It's very comfortable. It's a really nice helmet, as opposed to the Carnes guys who, you can't wear that. Okay, it's just wear what you want, but I like it. So.
Funny story about buying helmets. When you used to be able to write things off for business expenses.
Oh, right. Yep.
I used to buy every year. I was going to my accountant, who was a guy that my older brother went to high school with, and every year I was showing him a receipt for a leather fire helmet, and he's looking at the prices. He's going, dude,
wait a second.
You gave me this receipt last year. I'm like, no, I bought another one. He's like, you bought. That's 3 in 3 years that you just bought fire helmets. He goes, and the prices are getting expensive. I'm like, I do it for the write-off. He's like, what? I'm like, it's an expensive purchase. It's for business. He goes, dude, I can't just. So a few years later, my parents started using my same accountant. They
buy helmets then too?
Well, he asked my mom. He's like, does he really have all these leather fire helmets? She goes, he buys at least one a year. And he tells me that it's so that he can write them off on his taxes.
No.
He goes, he's not joking about that. She goes, if he says he has 15 leather fire helmets, he's got 15 leather fire helmets.
He's no tax cheat, that guy. Yeah.
She's like, he doesn't even live in my house, and I still have 5 of them sitting in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, they are addictive. I tell you. Then I went. I was the chief here in Long Valley, and I'm just scrolling.
You had to get another one.
And an ad comes up, and I'm looking from the fire store. It's like, let me see. Let me scroll through. And I had a flat black TL2 Miller, and it was like $515. I was like, wow, that's a really good price. So I looked, it was like $45 shipping. I'm like, yes, all right, whatever. Leave it on. Next day I'm looking, and if it was FDIC.
Okay.
FDIC week, free shipping. Oh, boom.
Home run.
Same thing. My wife's sitting on the couch.
What the hell are you doing?
Yes, I did, dear. Another helmet, which I didn't need for another 18 months till I finished my chief, but now I got it. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. See, we find people like us. We find each other.
Yeah. Again, my time is limited now and how much I could do. So, which is luckily for my bank account, probably. I won't need my my one helmet's a 2016, so I won't need one until 26. So,
all right, hey, I mean, somebody maybe wants to buy you a retirement present.
Not a helmet, yeah. Give me I want a speaking trumpet. That's what I want.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't have one of those yet. So.
I'm in the market. I keep looking at antique places.
I looked on Facebook Market and stuff, and it was okay when they're older, but there was nothing inscribed on it, which I didn't want. And then they were kind of dented, and I said, I don't know. I don't really
see. I kind of don't want an inscription.
No, I don't want, because it's somebody else's name on it.
It's somebody. Yeah, that's somebody else's thing. Exactly.
Yeah, somebody else's name. Who needs that?
All right, so now you get to the 2nd Battalion. You get your assignment. How do you make the spot yours, if you will?
Again, I did the same thing of going back to the same shift I worked on my whole career. So of the 42 years, I've been on D group for probably 38 of them, minus my 1 year in staff training, and then on B group for a couple of years. So 38 years on the same shift. So I know basically all the guys. All the guys know me. So it was easy because I know most of the guys, all the captains I had known. So it wasn't an issue. It was very welcoming. And the one guy I showed before in the rescue, when they started the rescue, Leonard Rybicki, he was in he was the captain on ladder 8 in the house I was in. So
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so working with the guy. Now, I forget what I was going to ask. So, some of these, we'll go through some of these.
That
pictures.
Was when I first came up. That was the first deputy I had in the 2nd Battalion. That was Wayne McCarthy. He was our union president for years and years.
Okay.
And got promoted to deputy and got the spot on D Group.
Okay.
Good relationship with him. I haven't had any issues with any of the chiefs. It was Wayne, and then we got he retired, and then we got Rich Casella, another great guy. Worked with him. He had COVID, like long-term COVID stuff, and had to leave. Super young. He was probably in his 50s. Good guy. And then when Rich left, we got Jack Johnson, and he was there for a while, and he just got promoted to chief of department a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna be tracking him down and
yep.
recruiting him on.
You want to see collectibles. He's got some good stuff. Oh yeah. He's got some quality helmets and speaking trumpets and stuff. Yeah, he'd be a good catch for this show.
I like
it. His toys out because he's got some nice stuff.
I like it. I like it a lot. So now
that was
looks like a hell of a fire. That looks like something really bad is about to happen on that second floor.
That was a mutual aid fire into North Hudson when I was working in the 3rd Battalion.
Okay.
And that was a daycare center or something. And it was. And then it got in a couple of the exposures. Okay. It was a cold night. It was good. And it was nice going as mutual aid. Just no reports to do. So
even better.
That one is speaking of reports, that is Easter morning of 2012, and I was working overtime in the 2nd Battalion, and I get a reported fire on Claremont Avenue, and it's a short block, and opposite the Board of Ed, which was a giant concrete, used to be a toy factory and a level off factory, and it became the Board of Ed office. It was 12 two-story frame buildings attached.
Okay.
And it was the second building. It started on the east side, second building in from the east. So you had the fire building, you had an exposure B, C was the rear yards, and then we had a Delta 1, Delta 2, Delta 3, Delta 4, Delta 5, Delta 6, Delta 7, Delta 8, Delta 9. 11 buildings of the 12. I got there. It was a fire in the basement, and they had engine 17, ladder 11, and they were doing work at the rescue's quarters of another firehouse, and they had somebody in rescue. So a rescue was riding out of 17's quarters, and they got there, and Stevie Drennan, who just retired as the chief, was the captain of the rescue, transmitted the second alarm on arrival. I got there a minute later, and I looked, and there's fire blowing out of the basement window of the original fire building, heavy smoke pushing out of the Delta 1 already, and smoke pushing out of the eaves 7 buildings down. And as I'm standing there, a family comes out of the the Delta exposure carrying a baby. And it was, I don't know what the hell happened. I transmitted the 3rd alarm, and then the deputy came, Kevin Stewart, went to 6 alarms. I've never seen a 6-alarm fire. We had Newark come in on mutual aid on the 6th alarm, and couldn't figure out until hours into the fire when we started going in and overhauling. All the fire started in the basement. Kids were having a sleepover or something, and they were messing around. And all the joists ran parallel to the street.
Okay.
I got up into the basement and went into the basement,
and ran
into the exposure both sides. Couldn't figure out why it was up in the eaves. Finally got into the building later on, and we're poking around. And when you went in, all the buildings identical. You would go in the door to the left. There would be a stairway going up to the 2nd floor.
Okay.
To the right, a little hallway with a stairway going down to the basement. Till later on, I got up on the 2nd floor. When you go to the 2nd floor, the top of the landing, and you go into the apartment, to the living room, you go towards the rear of the house into the kitchen, there's a stairway that went down to the basement from the 2nd floor. Each 2nd floor had their own stairway. So it was an open flue.
Yeah.
To the basements, it ran up the stairway. These wooden
got
stairways.
Into the 1st floor, got into the 2nd floor.
And it was.
And that was it. She was
all, yeah. We got there, and rescue was, I said, right there. They were around a block, 2 blocks away. And the one guy on rescue, Mark Petroselli, Vic's brother, he said, I'm going through. I said, Mark, I said, do me a favor. He says, give me a report from the rear. Okay, cool. So he gets up on the roof, couple minutes. Rescue roof to command. Go ahead, rescue roof. It's bad.
It's bad.
I was like,
It's
okay.
bad.
That was all I needed to know. And that was a shit show. I mean, it just went from bad to worse. Guys were on the roof. The fire just extended. They got cut off. There was a battalion on the roof as roof division. They got cut off. They had to throw another ladder, to get these guys off. It was
What year was that?
2012, I believe.
Okay.
It was Easter morning. I remember it vividly. And it was, and that's how I brought that up was you mentioned reports, and I had to do the NFRS reports, and I'm trying to figure out how to do 11 exposures to the building, and it was tedious.
Easter Bunny brought you some Easter eggs for you.
Yeah, that was something. That was fun.
That's a long morning.
Oh yeah, it was. It was like 4 something. So didn't get out of there until like 10, and then it was Easter day, so I went out to my sister-in-law's and brother-in-law's, and then I had to work overtime again that night. So it was perfect.
I would have just fallen asleep right at the desk.
The second night was like quiet. I was like, perfect. It was yeah, that was the big. I never had we were 5th alarms, but a 6th alarm. I was like, okay, let's do it.
We'll keep going.
Yeah, that was great. That was Kevin Stewart was the deputy on that, and he was another great guy. Died, very young. A couple of years later, a shame.
Yeah,
another good, solid, deputy chief, knowledgeable guy. Yeah, it was a shame.
How about this one?
That was let me see. That's an aftermath of a C group fire we went to in the morning. They had that, and there was a couple buildings. I forget, it was a garage in the rear of that building there, and spread the garage, spread to that building, spread to the building on the Bravo side of that, spread to the building on the Charlie side of the garage. So they were cut out for them that morning. So we got there, and there was only probably 6 blocks from the firehouse. So I think we got they brought a couple vans up, and we just made release at the scene. It was fun. That is the dreaded Sims medal.
Oof.
Now
I got to ask, why are you wearing a black coat?
Oh, a couple of years ago, the one Deputy Chief Bobby Daly has been hoping for, since we went to the tan gear in the mid-90s, I guess.
Okay.
Always wanting black gear back. And so he finally convinced that they were having deputy chiefs getting black gear. Okay. So I got sized up for a new set of gear, and he calls me up and says, hey, did you get the new gear? I said, well, not yet. I just got sized up a couple weeks ago. Did you get black? I was like, I didn't think I could get black. I thought it was only deputy chiefs.
I didn't know I was getting an option.
Yeah, I didn't know. So I said, you want black? I said, I'll take black. I said, I don't care, really, as long as it fits. And so the one guy who runs turnout fire and safety, who would get all the turnout gear, I went to grammar school with, so I know Joe very well.
Yeah.
So I called Joe. I said, hey, can battalion chiefs get black gear? He says, I think it was only deputy chiefs. He says, as far as I know, too. So I started looking through. I find the memo. Here it is. It's deputy chiefs only. Bobby Daly calls me back 20 minutes later. Okay, you're good. I talked to the chief. You're good. I called Joe back. I said, hey, Joe. He said, I know. He called me already. Said, okay. I'll make you gear black. So, okay. So it's probably about 8 or 10 battalions now who have black gear. And well, the line guys, the captains, when can we get black gear? So I don't know if we're ever going to get black gear, but I got it. So
we're in a wear trial.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. It's traditional. I like it. Again, I didn't mind really wearing the brown stuff. It was always decent.
As long as you get me fires to go to wear it too. I don't care what color it is.
I never got really burned with turnout gear on, so I felt very comfortable wearing it. So
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. I don't know.
Looks like some kind of bodega.
Yeah. Oh, that might have been. I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know what it was. That was up by Journal Square. That was. It started up in the bodega, ran up behind the sign up into the apartments above. That's what that was.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So so I have to ask, being a career chief and a volunteer chief, are you following the upcoming impending OSHA OSHA
I've read up on it now and then. I keep seeing articles that it's not the end all of what people are predicting. It shouldn't be that big of a transition. I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting to take.
Well,
We spoke before just about
yeah,
the amount of time it takes already,
yeah.
out of your daily life with the volunteers. That I don't think putting any kind of more requirements and mandates on these guys is going to help anything really. It's just, but
Well, my question was really going to be, what are you, how are you on either side of the coin, career or volunteer? How are you um, addressing that impending coming on? Like, if you were doing anything,
I've been
preparing for
waiting
it.
to hear from the county chiefs, and they've been working with some stuff and trying to they're talking about getting some seminars together. But
Okay.
I don't even know what the timeline is. I don't know when this thing is all supposed to just hatch. So that'll be the interesting part as they get closer. Because nothing
Yeah.
seems to change fast in the fire service.
No.
Any proposal that's come up, it kind of
Well,
takes.
the thing is, they've been working on this. Like, the more I read into it, they've been
Yeah.
working on this since like 2007.
Okay.
So again, nothing happens fast.
No.
Except for, except for the fire
Right. Yeah.
and building construction changes.
Well, that's the thing. It'd be interesting to see because you talk to old guys. The NFPA, it's a book publishing company. It's, was it not for practical application? All these things. It's not really rules. It's suggestions. So if OSHA gets involved, then it becomes an actual law. So that
Mhm.
could change things. So I really have to, see more and read more because I keep
Yeah.
seeing like different things, different opinions on what it's real, the effect is really going to affect the fire service. I don't know.
Well, and I just had a conversation not too long ago at work, and I was like, honestly, I think, you know eh, we need to stop being like, yeah, and again, this is my personal opinions. I don't want to offend anybody. Don't write my boss at New Jersey NJ Fire Guys podcast. Oh wait, that's
Yeah.
me. Um, so the more I read into it, like, cancer screening, physicals,
What's bad
you
about
know,
that? Yeah.
and you look at like NFPA, we can say what we want, but you've been around since we were wearing long coats and hip
Right.
boots, and NFPA was, you look at the unions, that was our leg to stand on to get
The
new
stuff we needed.
stuff,
Yeah.
to get new trucks that weren't breaking down every other day, to get minimum manning and now OSHA's kind of implementing it, which my understanding has always been none of the states ever adopted NFPA into law because then they would have had to fund it
Well, that was the whole thing. And they would
because
always, the towns and this fire service would cherry pick.
We're going to adopt.
They would cherry pick the things that worked for them. They never went to
Exactly.
the man and oh no, we can't do that. But as far as your gear they could do and the other things, the other mandates, but we're never going to go to the NFPA manning. Why?
But now that OSHA is making it a federal law,
Right.
wait a second.
Now you have
If
to
you're going to make it a law, you have to help me. I can't afford it. So
Right.
now all these grant programs, rest in peace, Bill
Right.
Pasquale.
Yep.
We lost a real champion for the fire service there. I mean, rest in peace, sir.
Yeah.
But now these grant programs are going to have to be astronomical because how do you tell? And I mean, we live in New Jersey. We're very fortunate
Yes.
with what we have. Even the poorer communities still have great fire equipment. When you look
Right.
at like the Midwest, I got a buddy who's a very good friend of mine who's a fire chief out in Kansas, and he grew up. He was actually a member for a period of time in East Brunswick District 1. So you know what he had, what he
Right.
came up having. He's like, Nikki, he's like, there's departments out here, the guys are wearing Carhartts
Yeah.
to fires. He goes, the building construction isn't even what garbage building construction is like in New Jersey. He goes,
It's whatever
we
they
got,
want.
he goes, out here, we got 45-minute response times. You know, he's like, there's no way this this OSHA standard is going to work for us. We can't do it.
No, they are
But
not going to be
if you,
able to fund
but
this.
if you,
That's the thing.
exactly, if you make it the federal law, how can you punish me because I can't afford it?
Right. So
You know,
if you're going to mandate that on the fire service, whose responsibility does that become to
exactly. Yeah.
It'll be, we'll see. We'll see. But I don't put a lot of credence into the cities stepping up and doing it, or the states just mandating this stuff. It's going to be a little again. They'll cherry pick that, and they'll cherry pick that. We could do this. We can't do that. We can't afford that. That's going to be what's going to happen.
But, and you know what? Maybe that gives the fire chief a little bit of protection and liability. And hey, you know what? You have to, the governing body, have to sign off saying that I'm immune, that I came to you and I told you that we need this, 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 and this. You're the one telling me you can't afford it. And,
I asked for these upgrades, and
now
you're not
it gives
providing them to me. So,
and now it gives the fire chief a little bit of liability.
Yeah.
Because I got to tell you, like, you look at where we've come in the fire service, and we're a short step away from getting sued because somebody's house burned down.
It's happened. That's the and then you see, like you said, the liability. That's what it precedes a lot of anything else.
Yeah.
With training and with interior firefighting, you hear this pushback from these guys. It's on fire, but I don't have my 2 in, 2 out, or there's a lot of excuses why they could just back off and just let the place burn to the ground, because I don't want to hurt anybody, and they're worried about that liability.
Well, I didn't want to hurt anybody.
Right.
I've watched a video 2 or 3 years ago on Facebook, and you see wisps of smoke at the front door. It was a guy across the street from this house that burned. The house burns to the ground. It's like an hour and a half long video. I wish I saved the link to it. The investigation shows, and the homeowner admits that it was a candle in the bathroom that fell off the toilet bowl into the garbage can.
And you couldn't put that out.
They never went into the house.
That's an issue.
Because the inexperienced junior fire officer saw black smoke at the door. My personal guess, again, my opinion, gets me in trouble a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think he knew how to read smoke properly. I don't think he was ever taught in building construction, because this was an old Queen Anne.
Right.
And he erred on the side of caution.
The whole risk benefit thing, you have to weigh, and you have to have enough experience. You don't need experience, as long as you could read about it or watch videos and just learn something about what you're supposed to be doing. It's your job. I mean, you want to take on responsibilities, you have to understand there are some risks that are worth taking sometimes, even if it is just a building. If you could stop burning a whole building down by bringing one light in, it really outweighs the it's a bread and butter fire. Most places you could do it, no problem.
Yeah, but you need that education of what you're looking at, and
that's the scary part.
how to efficiently do a size up of what I'm looking at.
And I start reading articles from these young guys, and it's frightening. We talked to some other guys who've been on, or retired, and they don't understand how it's gone from pushing in a line to the floor, searching the floor above, all the stuff that we've done for years. That hold on, let's sit back and I hate the acronym, we'll hit it hard from the yard thing, which it does have applications, absolutely, but it can't be the end all. It
absolutely not.
It does not work on every fire. if the fire's in the rear of the building, how much hose are you going to stretch to the back of that building to hit it at the proper angle to get the big droplets you want? You still have to send people into the building.
Yep.
You still have to get the lines up and operating. You still have to have guys opening the ceilings and the walls, checking for extension.
Now, am I sending guys into a known vacant building that is already on the verge of collapse? I've had numerous fires in this building already, and it's a glorified basement fire shooting out of the roof.
Right.
No, I'm not sending guys into there because the building shouldn't be standing anymore anyway.
Right. But then you get the argument, is that building vacant? How do you know that building's vacant? There's squatters in there. And absolutely.
You're 100% right.
You have to go to all the buzzwords, the survivability concept, all those things.
Yep.
You have to still kind of run them through your head. But it comes down to, if I'm outside, it's my decision. I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
From my experience and what I see, I'll make a educated guess on what we could do. If I see things going bad, then come on out. Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry to say, all the safety guys, I'm still going to take a shot at trying to save the building, doing a search.
Got to do it.
And just get it done. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. So do you ever have anything else you want to hit on, or we'll get to the Jersey guy questions?
No, you have something else?
Yeah, of course. We got the Jersey questions.
Oh, okay.
All right. Are you ready, Chief?
Go ahead.
Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
I grew up in Jersey City, and it was always Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. I understand the whole Taylor Provision Company with it used to be pork roll, and then it was not enough pork into it. They had to change the name. It couldn't be ham. So I've done my research on Taylor ham.
Outstanding. I like it.
I like it. So it's Taylor ham.
Right.
I'll appease the 609ers and give them a pork.
All right. So best pizza
in the world or like locally?
I mean, if you want to be a Jersey, if you're from Jersey and you think there's better pizza out there, please tell me.
No, I mean, New Jersey and New York are the pizza capitals of the world.
Absolutely.
I know with Italy, but I'm assuming their pizza's probably pretty good too. But there's some places, it depends. I like certain pizzas. When I was a kid and during the summer, we would go down to Seaside every year. There's a place, it's still there in Seaside. It's one of my first stops when I get down there. Cleese Bar on, I guess, the Boulevard in Seaside. It's like this thin crust, super pizza. You can eat a whole pie because it's that thin. I love it. It's one of my favorites. Like if I'm thinking pizza and I'm down the shore, that's where I'm going.
All right.
There's a couple places up here by me that are very good, but that's like, I'm going there.
All right, good to know. I'm gonna have to check that out. Cleese Pizza.
We were doing training up in I can't remember what it was, Montclair or something. There's a good place up there too. I can't remember what it was called. It's something
okay.
That was very good.
All right. So do you go down the shore or do you go to the beach?
I go down the shore. I've always gone down the shore.
Where do you go?
Have been, again, as a kid, always Seaside. As a teenager, young adult, we went to Seaside. We would go down farther into Seaside Park. And the last couple of years, my wife and I have just gotten a rental in Ortley Beach.
Okay.
Very nice. Second floor, you can see the ocean, and very happy with them because we're leaving on Saturday to go down again. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. I will be on mandatory
overtime. We lived in Long Beach Island. We had friends who lived down there. Okay, it's nice. It's kind of big and hard to get to because it's a pain in the neck going across that bridge in the one road running through the whole length of the island, which is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, LBI people.
Does Central Jersey really exist?
I think so, yeah. I lived in East Brunswick, and I felt that was Central New Jersey. North Jersey, I think, kind of ends at Morris County, Union County. Somerset is probably central. Middlesex, down into Mercer. I think when you get down into Burlington, Salem, that's South Jersey. That's a whole different animal. I worked for years as a side job for a guy when I lived in East Brunswick. He owned an appliance store, and he was very good to me that he would give me a lot of the he had state contracts.
Okay.
So I have been from High Point State Park to Cape May, every county building in the state, all 21 counties, every asylum, every jail, doing drops of refrigerators, air conditioners, whatever. And it was great because I had my whole bag of maps and I had my scanner. So I bring my scanner master book.
I love it.
And if I'm down in Burlington County, I put the Burlington County scanners in. I would stop, I had my little box truck full of appliances, and I'd be driving in Camden County, and I'd hear a job in Camden. I was like, okay. There was no GPS at the time, so I'd pull in, get a block or so away, try to keep it in a safe, back the truck up to a building.
Pull out your Rand McNally atlas.
Get my maps out, I did that. Sat eating my lunch in Newark a couple times, watching fires. It was good. So that was the best job. Didn't pay much, but it was good because he didn't bother me, and I could go everywhere.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Who are or were some of your mentors on the job and in life?
I mentioned Butch Cobb, fire service, absolutely. Worked with him as a fireman. He was my officer. I worked with him as captains. I worked with him. I was a battalion. He was a deputy chief. Mike Turpak was so helpful, getting me going. I mentioned the Carney brothers, John Holinka, Rick Eggers, all those guys, chiefs, who kind of pointed me in the right direction. A lot of the guys that I worked with, I was happy to be in places where the guys were buffs. And when we worked at 20 Engine, of the 8 guys assigned to the house, probably 6 of us had scanners. And they'd go and, even while you're sleeping, the scanner, one guy, shut the scanners off. Yeah, no, go scratch. We just let the scanner run all night. So that'll be cool. Yeah, that was always fun.
I love it.
Guys who liked the job, who wanted to work, who were buffs. That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing better than a fireman who loves the job.
No, you can't. It's just, I see guys, I feel bad if a guy's just there for the paycheck or could really care less about anything outside of come to work. Okay, good. Then, for 3 days, just don't give a rat's ass about whatever's going on. If I see a guy, who learns the history of the department, learns tactics and sees things. A couple guys I work with now, the captain in my battalion, a few of the guys, they do a great job of training. Actually, Jimmy Farrell, he's a senior guy, the senior captain of everyone, not even close. He got promoted in 92. He's still a captain on a busy company. His buddy, like I mentioned, all 8 of the captains in my battalion, Terry McGee and Barry Hogan and Rob Delfino and Bert Moore, all these guys, Dexter, they all do a good job in their companies, and I don't have to worry about them. They know what I expect, and they do it. I can't ask for anything more. I'm just very happy where I'm at, and so May 28, 2025. We'll wrap it up.
Put it on your calendars, Jersey.
It's on there. Put it in there. Should be something should happen that day. I'm guessing.
Proudest achievement on the job or accomplishment?
I guess making chief. I never thought it was possible. When I first came on, I would see these chiefs. You wouldn't even. The first house I worked in, it was a deputy chief. The one guy was a super down to earth guy, but there was other guys. You wouldn't even look in their general direction. It was just like this holier than thou thing. That was like you didn't talk to a chief. Sitting at dinner, you'd make respect. I never wanted to be that guy. I want to be the same guy I was as a fireman. And I think I have been. A lot of guys might disagree with that, but I don't think my attitude has changed that much. I understand where they're coming from. I don't. When I worked in the academy and we had a bunch of Jersey City classes, I sat for a few times, and I'd have lunch with the guys. And what are you having lunch with them? Because in 6 weeks they're going to be in a firehouse. I'm going to be having lunch and dinner with them anyway. I said, I'm going to be sitting at the same table, and that was the great part. The firehouse, the meal times in the firehouse were always like a sacred time.
Yeah.
Everybody got together. It was rankless.
Yep.
You say what you want, do what you want. Great conversations. What happened now?
Mm-hmm.
You have 6 guys at the table. Nobody's talking. The TV's on. It really has made a huge difference in the fire service. Just for that communication, that back and forth. I think that's one of my biggest regrets I've seen. That just you can't. It's everywhere. It's not just the fire service. It's any place you go. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I remember
that was always a great time. A lot of laughs. A lot of serious issues would get hashed out. It was always good.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking and then catching up on everybody's family, what's going on.
Just discussing fires. That was doing your own critique there. Like, you should have probably done this, or hey, great job. That you lose that. You lose a lot of that.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Last question, and then I'll let you go on. What advice do you have for the fire service? Young guys, old guys.
For young guys, if you've never had any fire experience, I didn't. I came in, really knew nothing about it. I knew Uncle Louie was a fireman, and I went to the firehouse a couple of times, slid down a pole. When I got in, it was all new to me. I absorbed it, and it bit me. And I got the passion. I loved it. I mean, everything I did. I said, I'm absolutely incapable of working a regular job anymore. I did this, other than driving trucks, I worked in the academy. I'm a volunteer. So everything I did revolved around the fire service. I felt the passion for it. I met guys who had the same passion for it. I still meet guys who do. And that really makes a big difference to see guys who love the job, who want to do the best they can, who are willing to do it. They're not going to, back out and hide in a closet someplace. And you know who those guys are. It's just, and that's the advice. Just learn the job, become passionate about the job. What does Ray McCormick say? Make fire, keep fire in your life. That's a great word. And if you do, I think, you just keep thinking about it. I met him a couple of years ago out in Columbus, and he's a character. He's pretty good, but he has some great lines and some good stuff online to watch him. But I really appreciate the opportunity. It was way less stressful than I thought it was going to be.
It's fun, right?
Oh yeah, it was.
It doesn't even feel like it's almost been 2 hours.
Has been really?
An hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, probably half the people left. We probably bored the shit out of them.
No, we still got a bunch of people. We actually have some questions. I don't know if Roger Lark is still in the show, still watching, but he actually asked, what's the average length of a career of a firefighter in your experience?
Well, what I've seen in New Jersey with the pension, 25, 30 years, seen firefighters go sometimes longer. So most of the cops I know, 25, 30, that's it. The cops even in my town here, you're out of your mind. How long have you been there? You're out of your mind. Okay. Again, I work 2 days a week. I have my own office. I have a bed, and I love it. Again, I don't have the passion. I don't know if burnt out is the right thing. What I do, I was talking to a chief a couple weeks ago at a retirement party, and we're about the same age. And the one thing that neither one of us wants to do is the overnight runs, the BS runs, the automatic alarm, or the water leak, into a smoke detector.
I hear deputies don't have to go to those all the time.
They don't. No, it's just the no. But again, I never took that job either. But I totally agree. I used to be able to, when I said the rescue, we were doing 20 runs a day, up to 4 or 5 times. Now 2 runs, I'm freaking shot the next day. It's just my whole day. My best night's sleep of the whole week is the night after I come back from the firehouse. So tonight will be a great night's sleep after this. I was stressing about this whole thing today. So
I'm sorry.
no.
You should have talked to Connie. Chief Zappello was very nervous.
I talked to her last night, and she explained it. Yeah,
and it was even she was like, yeah, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I was like, well, see,
I recommend
it's fun.
Yeah.
And then you go to like Chief Cobb and Chief Turpak.
Yeah,
they do as many as these as they do classes
around
the country.
He's been on everything. Between him and Turpak, he's another guy. He's amazing. Since he retired, he does more stuff now than since he retired. He's everywhere now. He's in Florida and out west, and
I'll tell you what, as much as that guy gets around the country and across over the seas and stuff, I was at a class right after the world opened back up. I was in a class in Texas, and he was speaking the last day of the class, and I'm sitting at the bar, and I'm like, Chief, excellent, not figuring he I sat through many of his classes,
right?
But not figuring he would recognize me from a hole in the wall. And I'm like, Chief, great class today, thanks. And he's with the guys that are running the seminar and everything like that. And he's like, I know you from somewhere. I'm like, oh, I'm Nick Palumbo. I'm from Jersey. I was like, I've seen your programs a few times. He's like, oh, yeah, come out to dinner. We're going for drinks right now. And I ended up, at dinner, we're talking, and I'm like, oh, when are you flying back, tonight, tomorrow? He's like, oh, I got like a 5:30 flight. I'm like, oh, I think I'm on that same flight. He's like, yeah. I was like, how are you getting back to the airport? He's like, oh, I'm just calling Uber or whatever. I'm like, I have a rent-a-car. I'll pick you up at your hotel. Where are you staying? He's like, oh, I'm staying at this hotel. I'm like, I'm staying at that hotel. I'll meet you in the lobby.
No, he's a great guy. He's so knowledgeable, but so
humble about it.
Oh yeah, he's the best.
Approachable, talk. Talk fire to you any day.
Oh no, not a
So Ed Zaknowski.
Oh yeah. He was a guy. Him and his brother Mike. I was in the same grade as Mike. Ed was a year older than us, and we hung out together all through high school. And he's out in the desert out in California now. He's super. Talk about us like a smart guy. He got into computers years ago, and from what I heard, he did very well, and he's got a nice life out in the desert out by Palm Springs now. So good guy.
Bad.
Hi Ed.
Good to see you.
Gary Rabbit, another guy from Firehouse.
Triple salutes.
Yeah, he's another good guy. He's on C Group on 19 Engine in the house. So I see him all the time.
All right. Do you have any shout outs? You want to say hi?
Well, he mentioned the guy called me before. I told him I wouldn't mention his name, but I did. So I won't repeat it though. I said it once, and I told him I wouldn't say it. But,
I love it. I love it.
I mean, I have to thank. I should thank my wife. She's the only thing I've been involved with longer than a fire service. I've been married. I just married 40 years on over the weekend. And
congratulations!
I've known her for 47 years. So
oof.
She has 4 years on the fire service. So she has seniority. So
I love it.
I love her. She's been very supportive my whole career, and she was a great kindergarten teacher for 20-something years. She retired a couple of years ago, and she's let me continue on to my nonsense.
I mean, hey, kindergarten teacher, a battalion chief.
There was no difference, really.
But a battalion chief. I mean, you guys are match made in heaven, really.
Oh no, I mean, a
bunch of firemen, kindergartners.
So she knew me since I was 17. So
I love it. Yeah. All right.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for all the guys I forgot to mention here who've made a real difference in my life. But thank you, and it's been a good run. I can't say anything more. I've been very lucky. I've been blessed. I've been more blessed than lucky. So,
all right. Hey, you know what? In 10 months, maybe we do another show.
Yeah, after the big finale.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I'll put you in the backstage area again. We'll say our goodbyes off air, and I will just say goodbye and push next week's show.
Will do. Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Chief. I'll be
Good
right
night.
with you.
Okay.
All right, everybody. That wraps up run number 28 with Chief Pete Griese. And next week we have Chief Tony Correa from the New Jersey State Fire Chiefs Association. Tune in, and thanks for coming out. Like, subscribe, comment, and share if you like what we're doing. See you next week. Stay safe.